I'll just politely excuse myself.
And we'll be like,
Ryan,
thank God that fucking guy's.
You should cue in a beaming, like, transporter beam thing.
Excellent.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Autopod Decepticast bonus episode.
Jesus Christ.
Bonus in the sense that we're fucking you out of an episode. Not really a bonus because it's airing in place of a standard episode. We're taking a week off from the regularly scheduled content in order, well, first of all, we're kind of trying to prepare for our TFCon panel in Chicago, and in its place, we have a quick conversation with our friend Mike Seibert of Mike Seibert Radio about last Thursday's theatrical presentation that many of us went to of Transformers the movie. What an awesome thing to actually have happen in congruence with what we're doing here.
That's right. I am Ryan, and joined with us is also...
Hello, I'm Caleb.
Yeah, I guess I didn't introduce myself.
Nope,
I'm Aaron. and of course we've got Mike on this as well.
Hi, I'm Mike Seibert. I've seen the movie a bunch. Let's go hang out in an elevator.
Man, the elevator is. We're gonna need to.
We're
make
getting a lot of
t-shirt.
mileage on that elevator joke.
We're gonna totally have to get a pic of us in the elevator.
Absolutely.
I think kind of the Gangnam style type of thing.
So, Mike, I guess we didn't really talk about this. I don't know if you want to lead us through it, or if there is like a discussion topic that.
Good. Let's make this harder to edit for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just right off the bat. I was going to say like impressions. Mike, and I'll toss it to you first here, just as a person who saw this in the big screen as a tot. How did it compare?
Yeah.
You know what? It was a really cool experience, and I guess for me, one of the coolest things was seeing it in a theater with folks kind of my own age or had similar experiences, and just kind of re-experiencing it for the first time. It was I tell you, I've got a little bit of setup, I want to throw at you guys, because basically. We ended up getting there stupid early, and like sitting through some of that trivia, and maybe if time permitting, we can loop back around to that. But basically, I tell you what, guys, once the music kicked in and it really kind of starts, and you see Unicron coming around that glowy nebula thing, I was 7 years old again. True story. I mean, I just kind of was transported back to that place, and I've got a lot of other stuff I could talk about, setup and stories and things like that. But being the I would say the least fluent in I guess in the movie, I kind of want to hear what Caleb had to what his experiencing it for the first time was.
Yes, Mike. That's a great point, because I was going to ask Caleb also, because he brought his son.
I did.
Our sponsor,
our Bro Cells sponsor. Yes,
we sell good.
Yeah, we sell good. Not only I've seen the movie. It's been a long time ago. The other weird thing about this is, I've been watching this movie 1 minute at a time over the past year and a half, and I have not at any point during this experience sat down and just watched the movie. So it's been such a long time since I've watched it that there was actually sequences coming up that I didn't remember.
Oh, wow.
So the interesting thing about me watching it this time around was that I've been so closely involved with it on an analytical level that I very much didn't have the childhood connection quite as emotionally as you did. Mm-hmm. I wasn't scrutinizing it, but I was watching, and it was nostalgic in a weird way, in that it kept making me think back to the experiences of the podcast. Where you were a 7-year-old again, Mike, I was a 39-year-old again, and
sitting there, and I was 39 all over again.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so while I was watching it, I was kept thinking like, wow, the movie went by relatively quickly, and it's weird that we've stretched a movie over
a year and
a half, which is just wild. And so that was what was kind of the most interesting thing for me. For my son, he liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a profound experience for him.
Of course, yeah.
He's 10. He was glad to go, but he was more interested in the Sour Mike and Ikes that he had, and I mean, but
I do remember asking your son, like, "Hey, did you like any?" And I got like a
he was
fine.
polite. Yeah, he was polite.
He
So,
thought it was a thing he watched
That's
and
right.
didn't hate.
Yeah. So we had a good time, and so it was a good father-son get together, and I'm glad I got to do it. That's my 2 cents on my experience with the movie.
Very cool. I mean, because really the thing that for you guys that I thought was so cool is that, it's kind of like the culmination of this podcast project you guys have been doing.
Right.
Yeah,
it did come at an interesting time.
What weird timing to where it's like, after you've finished the movie proper, you're kind of wading through the credits now in recent episodes, but it's oh man, it's just so weird, the timing where we're talking about the movie, we've got TFCon coming up, and it's just and it's strange that all of us could have like that singular experience together, like you guys.
It's certainly something that stretches across, like it's a fascinating thing to me of like, oh, we're all going to go watch this movie. It's the same thing, like I go to watch sometimes the Mystery Science Theater broadcast where they broadcast in a simulcast basically in theaters across the country. And it's like you're experiencing this in this theater with this live audience, but you're also experiencing with people all across the country at the same time. It's a really interesting thing that I don't think has ever occurred before the modern age.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, Ryan, you had said in previous episodes, like, you had done a time check saying it was like 7 o'clock Central Time, and it turns out it was 7 o'clock, whatever local time is. So, So, like, for example, I saw it at 7 o'clock. You guys saw it at 7 o'clock. And the reason why I bring that up and why that's kind of relevant is because I'm watching social media posts from 3 hours in the future where, like, East Coast people, so like they're taking, pictures with their mini posters and
Speaking of which, I owe you a poster, Mike.
Quick postscript on that. I kind of buried the lead a little bit. I was going to tell that story in a few, but
sorry.
But sorry. No, it's fine. It's fine. They I was a little too hot on the trigger on my hot take social media post. They handed out the posters after the screening, and the theater manager hung around in the door and handed them out personally. He was a fan.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
So like prior to the screening, like I had mentioned earlier, we got there stupid early because, again, I'm seeing these social media posts, seeing that like there's trivia, and I'm like, ooh, there's we've got assigned seats, but there's no reason for us to be there stupid early. But I'm like, ooh, I want to see.
How early did you get there, Mike?
We got there at 6:30.
Well, shoot, we got there at 6.
We got there at
6, dude. Ryan actually was concerned.
Worried.
Ryan thought that he suggested that we should get there 2 hours early.
I'm ridiculous.
And because he's obsessed with assigned seating, and we got there an hour early. Me and Harrison were the first.
Yes.
We were the first 2 people in the theater, and then these guys showed up about 10 minutes later.
Yeah, we did not have the benefit of assigned seating. Otherwise,
that's
it wouldn't have been as big a deal. But
I don't know why you'd show up more than 10 minutes ahead.
Right. Well, absolutely. But that said, there was a pretty sizable crop of nerds that showed up for this thing. I would say.
I would say it was 3/4 full.
I would say, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know how full it was in your neck of the woods, but our market is. Not Seattle-sized, but or even a big suburb of Seattle. But
our Springfield is about 165,000 people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, and your guys' theater was one of the ones that was added later, right?
Yes.
See, and that's pretty cool because, like, it's funny. We made the joke at the top about, hey, I'm Mike Seibert and I've seen the movie a bunch, and and all of that. But
to be fair, that was Caleb.
But but the thing about that is being in a larger city, it is so easy to take for granted the awesome movie going opportunities we have here, and not to be super privileged guy, but like when tickets went on sale on August 3rd, I saw that our local theater, the Century Theater that we see all of our movies at, they had it. And there were at least a dozen other theaters that are very convenient to me.
Wow.
So
nice.
so this thing was everywhere,
wow.
and I've made a lot of friends recently in some of the Facebook groups I've been invited to be a part of here locally. So everybody's talking about, well, I'm seeing it here, well, I'm seeing it there. So since it was in so many places, we didn't really have the opportunity to have like one huge rallying point, which in my mind's eye actually would have been kind of cool.
That would have been cool.
But we still kind of had that singular experience that Ryan was talking about earlier. I mentioned that they added more theaters. What we discovered when we got to the theater, because again, we bought our tickets on August 3rd when they went on sale, they had added a second showing. So
wow.
So not only was there the 7:00 that was all but sold out, there were a couple seats left in the front row. But yeah, they had added a 7:15 that was about half full.
I'll be darned.
So
Damn.
No, that's the closest. If they hadn't had it here, the closest theater would have probably been Tulsa.
Yeah.
I believe Kansas City had it. I don't know which is
Yeah,
closer.
they're about the same.
About
It's
the same.
essentially a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah, no, it just makes me so happy because it's like it shows how much of a fandom there is and how much people like enjoy that they added fucking like 500 theaters to it.
I bet you they made money. I bet you they did all right with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and that was something I posited on my podcast recently where I was like, wouldn't it be something, because it was after I reported on the expansion, I was like, wouldn't it be something if like this one night only Fathom Events thing ends up being more successful than the original theatrical run? Because
it wouldn't be that hard.
That's true. I mean, because it made what, $5 million?
$5 million, and it cost $6 million, I think.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick math. How many theaters did this get into? Do we know?
I
want to. Top of our head.
I want to say 750. And I don't know if that includes partner theaters in Canada.
Let's just do
750. We'll assume 200 people per theater. Times, what were these things? $14?
Yeah, sure.
$14. So you're already
$2
at
million.
$2 million right there. That's so loosely $2 million in sales.
That's half of what they made from there.
Presuming they sold out. And that is in modern dollars as well.
Sure.
But at any rate.
Yay.
Yeah, so
very presumptuous, but
from our loose math.
There
was it was interesting to see at our theater how many people, like, again, like, it was added late, and there were I think it was probably 3/4 full.
Sure.
And like, there was a woman who was sitting next to us who was, if she was over 25, I'd be shocked.
She was young.
And,
are you talking about to my right?
Yes.
That girl was like 11.
Yeah, she's like a teenager.
She was into it.
She was maybe 12.
Yeah.
Like that's
she was not 12.
She was
a kid.
She was
she?
Yeah, she was under the age to drive. I know she's taller than you, but that
well, that's
she
fair.
was under the age of 16.
Anybody taller than me, I just assume, are you an adult?
She was so excited. She sat down right
Oh
next
my
to
God,
us.
she loved it.
She was like, I mean, she was like a ball.
She was literally bouncing in her seat.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, like, before it like even started, she was like texting and talking to people on her phone about it, and she was like bouncing whenever it happened. And like after the movie, she was
She was singing all the Stan Bush lyrics.
So happy.
She was between the ages of 12 and 15 because I was like, why is this kid by herself in the theater?
Her parents dropped her off.
But actually, I think they were in the theater with her because she just want to sit with them or something. She liked that row. I don't know, but I noticed that she linked up with like an older person and a younger person at that point. But it was shocking to see somebody that young.
Fun to see like somebody, that young, who was like, I am into this way more than you people who are doing a podcast about it. Like, it was just like, she was so happy. It made me feel good.
And a part of that, just whenever I'm kind of trolling, when I say trolling, I just mean like kind of, scrolling through Twitter, and just generally kind of, the fan base that is younger, I feel like is more connected to the comic book or maybe some of the more recent cartoon series. Yeah. And some of the more anime influenced stuff and more, more modern stylized. And a lot of those people aren't G1 people at all. Yeah. In fact, I think, there's probably a pretty solid fan divide from the G1ers. I think there's a stereotype that we're just old crusty men, and which is probably true. But I think that there's a lot of people that just, for what it's worth, don't want to get to know the G1 material, and that's fine. Yeah. But it's interesting to see somebody so young, and they probably love all the aspects of Transformers and dig into this. But to be fair, the movie is the pinnacle of G1. So if you're going to watch something G1, this is the thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and so that's a really cool story. I didn't necessarily have an experience or see something like that, but I did see a lot of adults with kids in there, so that was probably very similar to Caleb and his son's experience. And I was thinking, leaving the theater, I'm like, oh, the cycle has begun again, because there was an entire generation that were traumatized by this movie, and then it kind of dropped off. And now with, I think, adults bringing their young kids to this movie for the trauma all over again. It's just passing it on to the new generation, I guess.
My son didn't have any. He didn't have.
Well, he has no connection.
He has no connection. That's right.
He doesn't care.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's a fair point.
Other than financially supporting this podcast.
That's right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
We've received upwards of $5.
He did contribute $5, didn't he?
All right.
Yeah.
I've still got it over here.
Yeah. So, what would you say was the general demographic, that the one that you saw there, Mike? Was it mostly adults?
Mostly adults, a lot of folks my age, and folks that brought their kids.
We saw a lot. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say we saw a lot of folks that brought their kids as well. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I didn't really see any teenagers. It was kind of funny though, because watching the movie, just kind of watching it unfold, I found that with the audience, everything still plays. Meaning, the jokes land, the gasps land, the thrills, the chills, all that stuff. It definitely plays. We had a mostly polite audience, meaning there really wasn't a whole lot of animation, for lack of a better word, but not a whole lot of singing or dancing or spoken dialogue,
calling out the lines.
Yeah.
Up until we got towards the end. I think right about the time we are hanging around with the Junkions and the Weird Al is picking up, that's the point where people started thinking it was okay to start saying dialogue. So during the chant to get on the Junkion ship and the Quintesson ship, it's kill Unicron, what is it?
Destroy the Grand Poobah.
Yeah. Destroy Unicron, kill the Grand Poobah, eliminates even the toughest stains. It took me, it's like, that doesn't sound right. Line. But yeah, so I heard some of that, and then that kind of continued kind of sort of through the end of the movie a little bit, to the point where after we left, my wife kind of pulled me aside and she's like, so I couldn't tell, were people talking, or is it just like echo and the sound distortion? Because being in a movie theater, you can really hear the modulation in the voice acting. I think more so than when you watch it on TV, because there's kind of like a little bit of an acoustical echo within, a large movie theater. So the voice modulation of these robots really definitely plays. So like there's like that extra timbre there, like when any of the Transformer characters speak. And so she couldn't keep track of if people were talking or if it was just the echo. And I was like, yeah, in parts it was a fair measure of both.
That's really interesting.
We didn't experience that at all. I mean, I was curious if it would be like some Rocky Horror elements to it, but no, everybody
was very. It seemed reverent, kind of.
Yeah,
but it was nice. Cool. I kind of wish it was. I do wish it was more like the experience that Mike had.
It wasn't supposed to be though. It wasn't like a Rocky Horror Picture.
Sure, I know, but I'm just saying. But Mike's experience.
They made it that way.
Yeah,
but I probably would have found that annoying. But that's okay.
I don't know. It depends. I'm of two minds about it. Like I don't know. I mean, because that means that people are enjoying it so much, and I love this so much that this is how I'm expressing it. But then also I'm like, I'm trying to watch a fucking movie.
Did Mike? Were you at one of those fancy eaty drinky theaters?
No, this is so we have like the luxury recliner seats in that it's a big Barca lounger and stuff, but it's outside of that aesthetic, it's a standard movie theater. So
Aaron tried to convince me that this was the selling point of these recliners are so comfortable, as opposed to I haven't been to we have the benefit also of in Springfield, Missouri, of having an Alamo Draft Theater.
Oh, we have the largest Alamo Draft House in the country.
And it is where you not only you can get booze and food, but also they subscribe to like a no talking. Well, it's different for like if you have a special venue, but also you have assigned seating like you did, Mike, where it's like I can show up 10 minutes before the movie and I don't have to worry about standing in line, and that's pretty prime for me.
Yeah, obviously.
Sorry. I don't know if I had a point.
No, it's fine.
I kind of just rambled on.
Well, and I was going to ask you guys kind of like, to describe kind of like the theater going experience, like what kind of theater was it? I mean, it sounds like it was just kind of like a standard type of deal.
Yeah, it's been converted recently into the reclining seats.
Pretty much all of them in town have that.
Oh, really? Yeah. But other than that, it's straight on theater.
It's just a regular theater.
I was telling them that I actually remembered. I was telling Ryan, the first movie I ever saw there was on opening weekend. When it opened, I saw the original Addams Family there.
Oh, okay.
Wow!
And I saw Kathleen Turner in line. I don't know why that's.
Wait, what?
Kathleen Turner.
To see Addams Family?
She was in line.
She was in Springfield?
She went to college here.
I know, but she was in town?
I guess, yeah. She was in line for the movie.
This sounds made up.
See? You said this. You had the same conversation with me in the theater. Like, you don't believe me.
Oh, my God.
Interesting.
The very first movie I saw there was Jurassic Park.
Me too!
Oh, high five.
Did you see Kathleen Turner in line?
I saw.
Because I did.
I saw John Goodman.
Oh, did you really? Did you really?
Springfield alumni. No, I did not.
Oh.
God damn it. That's funny.
I am going to.
I saw Michelle Bachmann in line.
Michelle Bachmann, the politician?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
right.
not true. I just thought of the weirdest thing.
Just making stuff up now. Mike, I have to excuse myself and leave. We will send you over the files for Deal or Can't Deal, as well as the voice actor trivia.
Okay.
I will, sir. Pleasure. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely, it's going to be a pleasure. I kept looking at the time. I'm like, he's still here. He's still here.
He's pushing it.
I'm pushing it. So I'm going to go, and you guys enjoy the rest of the
We probably have about 15 minutes
we'll finish
before
up.
we'll be great.
All right, see you guys. All right, now you can put in the transporter sound effect, right, Ryan? Thanks. All right, see you, bye.
That'll work.
And Caleb had to go back to his home planet.
That's right.
Yeah. He doesn't hear what we're saying about it. It's really funny.
He has a stupid butt.
Did you guys? I guess I'll just throw this out to you, Mike, as somebody that's seen it in the past, but also Ryan as somebody who has been going through this minute by minute journey. Was there any I don't know, moments of the movie that kind of hit a chord or, hit you differently based on just your past, your context, or just seeing it on a big screen as opposed to a little computer screen minute by minute over time? I mean, I don't know. Was there any moment that kind of stood out to you watching it in this context?
Mike, not to put you on blast here up top, but do you want to field that first?
Sure. Yeah. No. There's one specific moment that I'm thinking of that's there's a lot of stuff that's been kind of influenced by listening to the podcast because again, it's been very analytical, and one of the things that's made me a fan of your show is that it's made me look at things about this movie that I love so very much, and I will tell you that I know front and back and know all the dialogue and all the music cues and all the sound effects, and if you give me a running start, I could probably perform all 86 minutes of it in one clip. But what I like about the analytical approach is that I keep seeing things I have never seen before. So, I found myself at the very beginning of the movie trying to keep track of those frickin' Lithonians and who gets on which ship. And something I never thought to pay attention to before. And so there's 3 ships and 3 guys, but Kranix gets in one of them, and then Marvelous and his friend get in the other one. Third ship never takes off, and then they're all super dead. And the other one that really kind of that I can't not see this, and this is thanks to you guys, and it kind of pisses me off actually because it kind of sucks.
You're welcome.
But when Rodimus Prime opens up the Matrix, and there's those 2 stupid strings on the side.
You never saw those before? You didn't see that either?
I never saw that before in my entire life, and now, and it was, and it's very clear in that one shot where he's opening it up wide. The next shot, it's gone. But yeah, it's so Fathom Events had been.
I wish they hadn't done it. Almost looks like when you see the strings on a puppeteer marionette type situation,
or special effects.
And I mean, I guess they intended for us to both see that this, I don't know what it's supposed to be, like a stabilizer or something.
I would be interested to see in the season 3 episodes whether that exists whenever they open it for the Rage virus.
Good question.
Honestly, guys, I think it's an animation error.
Really?
I don't.
You think it's maybe just
guidelines?
Yeah,
exactly.
And they either didn't or couldn't remove it. Because again, the next time where that shot changes perspective a couple times. So when it's only in that one shot where he's first putting his fingers in the finger holes and then opening it up that way. That's the only time you see the strings. Outside of that, it's just floating. And yeah, I never noticed that before, and it sucks because it sucks.
It sucks. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. But
I appear to be the only one who would notice that.
I never had seen it before.
And I mean, outside of that, I mean, I guess slightly tangent for just a sec. So with seeing this movie so many times in so many different formats, there was a few things that I found kind of nitpicky about this particular screening, and I don't mean to bring down the house or whatever, but I was wondering at a few different times if what we're watching is actually the 30th anniversary cleaned up Blu-ray put out by Shout Factory, because there's a lot of stuff that's clean. So for example, at the beginning of the movie, you can see the 3 Lithonians inside the reverse angle of being inside their lab as the scene goes red and the Lithonian shopping mall is being sucked up into Unicron. something I didn't notice until that Blu-ray release. So I did notice it in this theatrical version, but there's some shots, like specifically like where you're first introduced to Hot Rod and you see him fishing with Daniel. It gets blurry as fuck for like no reason.
Yes.
And
yes, there's one specific shot that I noticed that is very out of focus.
Yeah,
I was going to ask that, and I was curious just from your angle, Mike, because I was like, was this the 4K version? Did we just have a bad, projector? Because all projectors nowadays are high def digital, and why? Like,
I think it was
I don't
just
know
a
how
bad
you would get.
cell.
So,
or a couple cells.
Well, I mean, the whole movie did not seem high resolution to me. So I was like, is this supposed to be like it felt in the original, and they've preserved some lower grade version of it, but for the purpose of like watching the original Star Wars instead of the remix George Lucas.
And also there was something that where I think it was on Twitter, but there's an example of like they were like, here's the I think it was the company that did it was, here's the original, here's the redigitized version, like side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I was going to
the original looks better.
I was going to bring that up because that was going around my Facebook feeds as well. And I had, I was even being devil's advocate. I'm like, well, maybe they have the before and after flipped. I really have to go back and watch all of these different versions because, I think I've seen that 30th anniversary Blu-ray once. And my biggest takeaway from watching that at home on TV is like, again, I've sung its praises, saying like there are bits in the animation that I've never seen before, and to me the showcase for it is during Megatron's transformation sequence into Galvatron. You can see all of the fine detail. Lines of detail that I had never noticed before, because in most other versions, it's the color saturation is turned way up, so it's like there's that pink glow that kind of obscures the detail. And in the print that we saw, it's back to being pink glow. So I'm like, this can't be the Blu-ray version. I hate to be conspiracy theory guy about it, but it's like it really did kind of bug me a little bit. And and this is, if I wasn't conspiracy theory guy before, this is where
I don't know why we're calling it conspiracy. Like, I don't know who's making money or saving.
The reason why I say that is because Shout Factory's logo is all over this, along with Fathom Events.
Okay.
So I think this was supposed to be, Fathom Events partnering with Shout Factory to, kind of present this showcase. And I think, I don't know if somebody just got the cans mixed up or whatever, but I've, oh man, I'm trying to avoid a whole in-depth conversation about aspect ratio. Because
this wasn't the widescreen, was it?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And the way that you can tell, the way I always use to figure out which aspect ratio is being shown is the during the transformation of Autobot City, there's that last gun turret that spins around, and there's like the shine effect on top.
Yep.
So like, it goes around. It's like ding. Mm-hmm. This one, the whole top third, I'd say, of the gun barrel was cut off.
Mm-hmm.
So like you see the bottom of the light effect, and you see it go up the barrel, but you don't see where it ends up. And
I do remember noticing that, where I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is not a widescreen version.
Yeah,
which I would assume it was theatrically released.
Of course, why wouldn't it be?
Okay, right.
Well, here's the thing, though. From what I understand, this is where it gets way too deep. Is that I think the way that we saw it is the aspect ratio that it was originally presented in back in 1986. Because I remember back around like the 20th anniversary restoration, they're like, well, there is no quote unquote widescreen version. Basically,
you're right. When we see a widescreen, they're cutting it to make it widescreen. Is that what it is? So that's really the edited. But then why would that cannon be screwed up?
I really don't know. I think over the next few weeks I might, because I remember like on the TF Wiki article it kind of talks about the aspect ratio and there's some shot comparisons, but that more or less what I'm saying is one of two things. Either this is a different print or the restoration is good for like TV and computer and things like that, but maybe the restoration just doesn't hold up on the big screen.
Sure.
Maybe that's
But
what it is.
I can't imagine why it wouldn't, though. I mean, those projectors are high definition projectors. More research to be done, but not by me.
Not to, again, like, let's just bring this back to the fold where it's saying like nothing to take away from this fact. I love that they re-released it, no matter how it looked. Like it was a really enjoyable thing that occurred, and like to have people be so excited, not only like on Twitter, but on social media, but also in reality, to be so excited.
200 nerds.
Exactly. Like to the love of this movie brought people out. That's really the important part.
On a Thursday.
On a Thursday. We have to work the next day.
Was there which is why we wouldn't have gone to a big city and would have just missed the event entirely. Mm-hmm. Ryan, was there a moment that stood out, that just being in the theater, or given what we've been doing? What?
Starscream kicking Megatron.
Everybody in the theater laughed at that point.
Yes.
Yep.
That was a nice moment.
Same here. Biggest laugh. It seems like Starscream, just as a character, any scene that he's in that he steals gets all the laughs. So like even at the beginning of the movie during the shuttle attack, where actually it's Megatron's line, but he's like, "You're an idiot, Starscream." Huge laughs.
Because of Starscream's expression.
Exactly. Well, and even like, you know, when he blasts off his foot at Autobot City, people laughed at that, and then of course everything after that, from Astro Train all the way through the coronation, that seemed to be, aside from at the end of the movie with the Junkions, that's when the audience, I think, was the most lively in terms of like, you know, really being dialed into it.
For me, there was a couple of moments, but the one I think I wrote down here was Springer tugging at RC's wrist, which but so I don't know why watching it on the big screen inspired me to look at it a little bit differently. Okay. Not that it's right either way. But in my head, in my head, I started to second guess like the whole dynamic between their relationship and Hot Rod's part in it. And although nothing is really explicitly talked about, but I still go in my head as a kid, I was always trying to figure out, like, is she supposed to be his boyfriend, or are she and Hot Rod flirting on the side? And in my head, in this movie, it hit me that what if, or maybe what it's supposed to be, is that Springer and RC are more of a brother-sister relationship. And when I let that click in my head, that doesn't mean he should be grabbing her wrist or anything, but it made more sense to me that, like, you know, as an older brother, kid, sister. I don't know why. Like I realized that I wasn't getting any like romantic vibes in the same way that you get those flirtatious romantic vibes, and I thought, you know what, there's really no reason. There doesn't seem to be a spark here at all.
That's actually a super fascinating perspective.
And then I just all of a sudden felt less weird about the grabby stuff, but
you've actually blown my mind.
It blew my mind in the theater. It was weird, like this wave of comfort just fell over me.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, because I could imagine it's not unreasonable. I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings, but I would imagine that in that stress situation, that it's not unreasonable to grab your sister's arm and say, "Let's go."
Right.
You know, I've blown my mind. And again, that's what's so cool about the Autopod Decepticast, is it makes you take this movie that you've known for 32 years and make you look at it from a completely different angle. I mean, this has like subtext within text within subtext. Yes. It's really crazy. So something I wanted to ask you guys about is, we talked about how kind of the audience kind of behaved a little bit. I have to ask, were there any particular times where you guys were personally kind of like keyed in or dialed up or anything, any reactions that you guys had?
For me, just the very beginning of the movie, and like once that the DEC logo came up and you heard that, I guess it's a gong, and I felt like this is really happening. And I think I was sitting right next to Ryan. I think I like hit you and I was like, is this real life? Because I just I don't know why it was so surreal after watching this as many times as we've watched it, to be seeing it in that context with all those people and on a big screen. And I just it was just surreal. It felt a little deja vu-y and dreamlike and all of that stuff. And so it just like that moment when it started was like I felt a weird sort of nervousness in my stomach that I can't even explain why it was happening. But that's kind of where I felt it, and it mellowed out over time.
Sure.
There were moments like, "You're an idiot, Starscream," and like to be in a room with that many people. I've obviously never been in a room with that many people watching it, and it was like
we're
that is
all
a really
the
harsh
same
line, but we've all seen it. But it feels like it felt like I was in a room full of people that had never seen it for some reason. It was like, how are they going to react to that?
Oh, really?
That thing? I don't know.
I didn't think that.
My head was going in weird places, I guess.
But like we were saying earlier, everything still plays as if you hadn't seen it. Because I mean, again, we're getting those weird audience reactions that if you've seen the movie a million times, why are you still laughing at it? Because it still plays.
And we love it. I mean, there's so, I don't know. Ryan was like, what about you?
Same. I mean, it was, again, like to the point of like, it was so fun to be in a group of people who were like, we all agree that we love this thing. This is something that's interesting to us. We
don't have to hide in the shadows anymore.
Well, I think it's clear that nerds don't have to hide in the shadows. But like
anymore,
it's Transformers nerds maybe do.
It's clear that like we enjoy this thing. We've come out on a Thursday. We all have work tomorrow, and we've decided to enjoy this thing together. And there were some times where I was like, oh, I wonder if people are upset about, there's some noise here, or like the audience makes some noise. But I'm like, no, we're all the same people, so we're kind of enjoying this all together. And so that was kind of my experience.
One more moment, or one more random thought I had.
This is a rambling.
Aside from the RC,
rambling one.
Aside from the Springer RC thing, I realized that if you recall that Unicron attacks Moonbase 1, I guess, first, right?
Yes.
And he eats it, and that's Jazz and Cliffjumper are on that moon. And then you've got Spike and Bumblebee, who they attempted to blow up Unicron by...
No, wait, Jazz calls Moonbase 1.
Oh, is that right? They're on Moonbase 2.
No, because it's Jazz to Moonbase 2. Jazz to Moonbase 2.
You're right. I'm sorry. You're right, Mike. I'm sorry.
So they get devoured, and then you've got Spike and Bumblebee. They set the Moonbase as a bomb.
Yes.
And I just realized that, and then they try to get away, but they got sucked in. But I just realized that if their plan had worked, they would have killed Jazz and Cliffjumper. If their plan to blow up Unicron by using their moon as a bomb, they would have murdered their friends.
Well, they had no frame of reference that they were still alive.
Oh, true.
And
no, they didn't.
And we as the audience didn't either. So that's interesting. And the thing that is also interesting, seeing it play out, because I haven't watched it. Oh gosh, I can't. No, I watched it last September whenever that 30th anniversary Blu-ray came out. I got it
a year ago.
So it's been a full year since I've watched it end to end, and the thing, seeing it's maybe just the different headspace of being in a movie theater, but holy shit, that movie is fast, and and it doesn't let up.
There's barely a chance to breathe.
Yeah, it's back to back to back. Yeah, that's, again, whenever we were reviewing it a couple episodes ago, I mentioned how fast this movie is, but then watching it in the theater, I'm like, holy shit, this is over really quickly.
Yeah, it's super fast. But we were talking about reactions a bit, and I got to confess a little bit. I didn't speak any dialogue or sing any songs or anything like that. But I am a dialogue mouther. And it's one, and
yeah, me too, Mike.
And I couldn't help myself. It was like, so the lion theme is kicking in, and it gets to that overmodulated robots in disguise. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm 7 years old again. I give no fucks. This is fine. So yeah, there were, the big ones, the one shall stand, one shall fall and all that. But the most embarrassing, the one that I had the most fun with, I may have said this out loud, I don't remember, but when Cup and Hot Rod are on the Quintesson planet, and they're bargaining with the Alicons. It's like, the universal greeting, the Energon goodies, and this is I think I've posted this on Facebook before, but that's more. There's so many lines of dialogue that I kind of use in my daily life that just kind of come up weird and organically, but like we have two cats. And, I give them treats from time to time. So I pull a bag out, and, I'll give them the treats. And when I'm done, I'm like, no more. and sometimes when it's this is so embarrassing, but like when it's like the end of the bag, I'll be like, empty.
Empty. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
I almost keep waiting for my wife to be like, they're supposed to reciprocate. This is getting expensive. But
this is getting expensive.
Don't worry, they'll reciprocate. But so like during the movie, that was the only time that like I did additional gestures in addition to mouthing the dialogue, because I'm like, no more.
Connected to you. There, a line that is actually performed really well that's related to that struck me as more idiosyncratic than it normally does is when Cup and Hot Rod arrived back at Junkion.
Yeah.
And he goes, what was that universal greeting again? Oh, never mind. I remember. It was just like, they didn't even need to do that. Yeah. But it just, I don't know, I like it though. And I think of it all the time. I don't want to hurry us up too much here, but I think that this is probably as good a time as any to. I mean, you were getting your wife Lucky ready for the movie here, and so I think what would be a good thing to do is maybe just talk about. I think maybe between Ryan and I. Let's talk. What do we think would be the essential G1 episodes to prepare somebody who's never seen the movie before to get them prepped for it? And then I'd like to hear what you actually did.
Way too late for what you did, Mike. Who was like.
I did respond. I provided some feedback.
Yeah, and I got a lot of other feedback as well. I got some folks from Facebook as well as Twitter, and I don't have any of it up in front of me because, quite frankly, I mean, I think I will cover this in depth maybe when we get together next time, maybe for one of my shows and talk a little more on it. But so I got really good answers. It's like, well, you need to watch this episode because it introduces this. You need to watch this episode because of that. But
let's just skip to that. Why don't you just tell us what you did?
So what we ended up doing was we watched More Than Meets the Eye, part 1, 2, and 3, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So and I have a rationale for this. Because so basically what I've done is I've created this alternate canon where it kind of jumps from More Than Meets the Eye. You could put up a title card that just says 20 years later and jump right into the movie. And the reason why I think the pilot is most essential is because it introduces the concept. You know who the good guys are. You know who the bad guys are. You know what the nature of their conflict is. And it sets up so much that pays off in the movie, more so than anything else through any of the other episodes. So like, like between like the dynamic between Prime and Megatron. Though incidentally, it's kind of funny how in the show, Megatron is a laffy daffy guy. It's like, here's something to keep you warm. I mean, everything is just so funny to him. It's just doing that Frank Welker laugh, and then we get to the movie, and he's like, "Die, Autobots, motherfucker!" Yes. It just starts murdering people immediately. But anyway, so it sets up the stakes. It sets up all of the human characters you need. And what I found, now I watched a bunch of episodes by myself, like including all of the ones Aaron recommended and a lot of the other ones a lot of other folks recommended as well. A different time, we definitely got to talk about Autobop, which is, I think, probably my favorite episode of the entire show now.
That's the Blaster versus Soundwave one, right?
Exactly, and I hadn't seen it in so long that I had kind of forgotten about it. Now, what I found is as so I'm watching like War Dawn and a couple of the others, I found myself in this trap where it's like, oh, this episode has Stunticons in it. There's no Stunticons in the movie. Right. Well, War Dawn deals heavily with the aerial bots, which I had forgotten about. They're not in the movie. So I created, like, in my head, it's like, well, I don't want to watch any episodes that create questions about, well, where's this guy? Because that's one of the biggest plot holes in Transformers the movie is like, where are all the other combiners? And really the thing that I wanted to preserve more than anything is the Devastator reveal. Because the way that Lionel Stander delivers that line with so much fear and reverence to it. So, like, the Decepticons have, trashed Autobot City, and they're about to finish him off, and he's like, Constructicons merge for the kill. And, Daniel, he's like, hey.
Devastator.
Yeah, and just the way he says that, and if you watch Heavy Metal War, it takes a lot of the punch out of that, because it's like, well, they beat this guy pretty easily. And just like the menace in the slow walk to the transformation and all of that. And I think that is one of the coolest reveals in the movie. And I think not watching Heavy Metal War or any other episode that has Constructicons in it kind of keeps that intact. You can almost pretend that you're meeting the Constructicons for the first time in that scene, because it's like, oh, holy shit, they can combine into a super robot? Holy shit, what are the good guys going to do?
Right.
So
that's fair. And I did try the ones I picked. I did try, although War Dawn probably is the exception to that, to pick ones that set up characters in the movie, like it featured the Dinobots, or it featured the Insecticons, or it featured Devastator, the Blaster Soundwave dynamic. But War Dawn, that was a suggestion of mine as well. And when you talk about it like that, A, there are characters that aren't in the movie, and B, it gets into, I guess, a lot of the pre-lore that you don't even need. That's it. Right. Like your concept of just looking at the first three, it sets up everything. Like Prime, like Peter Cullen's so great, and Frank Welker's so great. Right. You get that these guys go way back. And you get that Prime is noble and strong, and everybody's gonna definitely miss him if he dies. And you get that Megatron is like tough and bad and smart, and that he has this dynamic with Starscream. So I'd say that was a good tactic on your part.
Well, thank you. And just the way you were mentioning that made me think of one other thing. I mean, there's like a lot of weird foreshadowing, because I get the feeling that, whatever the production schedule was, I bet you they started working on the movie probably about the same time they worked worked on season 1 and into season 2.
That's what they say.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
So More Than Meets the Eye was made before all of that. because it was just a 3-part series, and there was like a separation between that and I don't remember what it was, but they were made some time apart. But the reason why I bring that up is like there's some weird eerie foreshadowing in More Than Meets the Eye. Like there's a part where like Ironhide goes after the Decepticons, and like he gets blasted out of the air, they haul him out of the water, and it's like, oh, hey buddy, you know, are you okay? And Prime says something, he's like, you know, you gave us a scare, you know, there's a thin line between being a hero and being a memory. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to the movie, and that's one of the characters that heavily features being murdered brutally. So it's just kind of like that weird. I don't know if it was intentional foreshadowing, but. And again, all the Starscream stuff, because he keeps saying, like, every chance he gets, he's like, my time will come. I will be leader of the Decepticons.
Yes.
And then he finally gets his shot for 10 minutes. So it's odd. I you know, just for funsies, I would recommend you try that. Just watch those 3 episodes and then watch the movie and just kind of see how that plays for you.
I'm sure it'll make sense. Well, we've got to wrap it up a little bit here. But one thing I think I would just touch on before we completely, I think at some point, maybe up in TFCon, we'll talk about the reboot conversation and, you know, if we were to reboot, who would our dream team be kind of thing. But since it was relative to this and they did do some new Bumblebee reveals.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we can't get out of here without talking about that.
I'll give you my hot take real quick.
Yep.
I'm still a little confused by it. Is it a reboot? Is it a retcon? Is it in the Bay universe? No. I assume it's in the Bay universe still.
It is.
And I think that I'll quote, kind of rip off somebody I watched, a Transformers reviewer and a podcaster by the name of Bobby Skullface. And he, I felt kind of aligned with where he was, that all that footage of the G1-y Cybertron stuff seems very tacked on. Like the quality of it seems more video gamey than the quality of the stuff that was made, you know, of the Earth special effects. And I feel like his hypothesis is that people got really pissy about the whole Blitzwing Starscream situation, and they felt like they had to shoehorn that in there. And at the end of the day, that sequence is probably a 3-minute sequence of like exposition that is not really going to play a major part in the movie.
I'm sure it doesn't, but that was not created after those people got
I don't know.
There's no way.
I don't know.
No. That did not happen after that.
But that, I mean, if you, the quality really isn't as good. And so at any rate, but I mean, either way, I'm fine with it. I'm glad it's in there, and they should. I'm happy that that's.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
And maybe there's time to clean it up.
Well, yeah. See, a couple things. One, Shockwave is looking thick. He's got some thick thighs in there. It's delicious. But
I love it.
But no, I'm gonna split the difference with you guys, because I don't feel that it's, you know, caving to fan expectations and all of that. I think it was organically already kind of in there. I think the special effects aren't done, more rendering needed, but they wanted to toss us a bone. And I'll go even further. And again, I think it's going to be a flashback. I think it's going to be a very brief sequence. It's not going to be a featured part of the movie, which I think will be fine, because one of the parts of the movie is that, you know, it seems like Bumblebee kind of has like the amnesia. Because as we saw in the extended clip, spoilers, it's revealed that he doesn't know his name. He doesn't know where he comes from. He doesn't have any memories. And so his bond with Charlie is him kind of trying to, you know, find himself. So I think it's just going to be a flashback. And oh, damn it. I lost my train of thought and I forgot where else I was going to go with that. That I think the Blitzwing thing is still a red herring. If you're giving us G1 Optimus, Shockwave, Soundwave and Ravage, Tetrajets for fuck's sake,
Exactly.
You know, you can't have a character that well designed and not have it be Starscream. I think
gosh, I hope you're right, Mike, but I don't think you are.
You know what though? I remember there was this little movie called Star Trek Into Darkness that came out, and J.J. Abrams was like, "Oh yeah, that Benedict Crowderhatch guy, he's not playing Khan. Khan isn't in this movie. Not a thing.
Psych.
Not a thing."
Hated that movie.
Oh, that movie sucks. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I love.
Mike, you and I will do a podcast about how much we hate the new Star Trek movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that first one. Just kind of shots across the bow. But
I have some thoughts.
All right, very good.
Whatever.
But with Bumblebee, I'm already in a take my money situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it, and to your guys' point about whether it's a reboot or whatever, to me, this smacks of X-Men First Class.
Yes.
In a good way.
I agree.
And that's not a bad thing, to where you can do like a soft reboot that may or may not lead up to the other movies, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, maybe it's a soft prequel, maybe it isn't. You know, and maybe like with Bumblebee having amnesia, that's a way you can get out from underneath of like, I mean, I never watched that fifth live action movie, but apparently he's like in World War II, like killing Nazis or some shit like that.
Also, I don't care. Like, I don't care. The idea of me seeing Bumblebee in the 1980s, like, I don't care. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like you guys have talked about in the podcast, you know, it's going back to Sweet Boy, basically, you know, and that he's huggable. And
I hate this portrayal of Bumblebee.
I hate that you hate it.
I can't stand this, like, childlike.
He's not childlike, though.
Lapdog. Duck my head behind the rocks and like cower in the corner. I mean, I'll have to see it to watch it, but I don't see how you go from that to like badass warrior.
Well,
now I'm gonna.
You are the most wrong that's ever been.
Well, I can't stand it. I think even if. Like, I just think about the G1 interpretation of Bumblebee. He didn't act like he can be immature and still be,
but again, he's missing memories. I think it's going to feel it's going to be fine.
He's like this kind of like cowardly, beaten dog character. I don't know. It's just
nope. Aaron and I have different opinions.
Yeah. Well, good thing the podcast is almost over because I'm smelling a rift, and you know, as a friend of the show and a featured guest, that's going to be a rough day at the office when I got to start taking sides because spoiler alert, I don't know.
No, it's fine because I'll be proven to be correct.
So I know our time is running out. The last thing I wanted to cover is. Did you guys stay after the credits?
We stayed. Well, I stayed for a little bit with. I was riding with Caleb and his son, so I stayed for the Stan Bush. A little bit of that.
Okay.
And I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, you know what? You're okay. I think it's cool that it was there. I'm glad that they put something at the end of the credits because I guess I'm Marvel trained, and
sure, and we all are. I'd stay after every movie because we've been trained by Marvel to do that.
Fucking
Disney.
I
was making a joke. Are they going to have some kind of bonus hinting to the next movie?
Yes.
Turns out it's just season 3. You know, it's like 5 Faces of Darkness. What the hell is this? But yeah, no. I like that they tacked something on. I liked. Actually, that I think having the Stan Bush stuff at the end, because it is so take it or leave it, was probably a better move. Because if you put that I mean Stan Bush, bless his heart, but man, that's he's a lumpy dumpy fella, and that was that was kind of rough. And I mean, the documentary part is taken from the 30th anniversary.
I couldn't remember if it was or not.
It's actually from a larger documentary. So it's like they just kind of like took a pie wedge out of it, and then they tacked on that acoustic set at the end. And oh man, I mean, I understand now, and this is something, Aaron, you were telling me about way back when we first started getting connected, is that the fandom can be so shitty sometimes. And it was always like, he's like, oh, that microphone must be delicious or something, because it was, I mean, even as an audio guy, like, they had like this acoustic set like in a parking lot or some such.
I couldn't figure out what that was all about.
I don't know. It was goofy. I mean, like the performance was okay, but like the mic placement was all fucked up. It's like he kept like leaning into it and bumping into it. And since you're in a movie theater with really good stereo, you can hear where, like, he's moving around and bumping into it, and
just a regular day at the Autopod Decepticast recording session.
but yeah, no, it was not great. But I gotta tell you though, as I was watching the credits, I saw a part and I'm like, oh shit, wait a minute, I think that's my part for an upcoming episode of and I leaned forward, I'm like, production secretaries. I wasn't writing notes, but I was like, like looking at it's so weird. But I do gotta tell you though, I don't need 6 minutes of that song. You want to get sick of Lions Transformers the movie theme. You just sit in those credits and you just watch and you listen to like the same chorus over and over. Because I want to say
Mike, we did. We're doing it right now.
It's so bad. So, but no, I mean, it was an amazing experience. I would do it again if there was like, say, like a fan friendly Rocky Horror type style thing. I think that would be a lot of fun. Now
that I've done this, I agree. Yes. I'm glad I saw it. Respectfully, traditionally quiet theater this time around.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they had like maybe like an early show and a late show. It's like you go to the 7:00 show and you're reverent, and then like you go to like the 10:00 show and kind of cut loose a little more. That'd be rad, but but we can all do that from the comfort of our homes. So
that's right. I was trying to think of a great transition. Speaking of homes, we'll let you all get back to your homes. That's
will we? That's how we're doing it?
Speaking of homes, I'm going to drive Ryan to his home.
Yes.
Because I need to make dinner as well. But
and I have to pee.
Oh, goodness. Well, so thank you, Mike. I think this is a great conversation. Thanks for participating in it.
Yeah.
Thanks again for being a part of what we have going on and planning for TFCon, our special presentation, October 26th through 28. Chicago, United States, Planet Earth, Solar System, Orion Arm, Milky Way, Local Group, Virgo Cluster, Virgo Supercluster, Universe. That's our address.
That's our address.
Our universal address.
Post office box.
That's very specific.
Wow. But Mike Seibert, where can people hear from you?
They can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram and like us on Facebook, all at Mike Seibert Radio. I am not the Mars rover guy. That's a different Mike Seibert. The spelling on that is Seibert, just the way it sounds. LOL. I felt the need to put that in there. But if folks wanted to listen to the podcast, again, it is Mike Seibert Radio. You can find that on SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio app, Apple Podcasts, and iTunes. Like, share, rate, and review the show wherever you find it. And if you would like to leave me a review, 5 stars, please. As I'm totally stealing Ryan's lines, right in front of him. And I don't know if you've noticed, but that's my cadence now. I can't stop saying 5 stars, please. But
I love it.
Like and subscribe.
Ryan feels great about any influence he
I feel great about anything that anybody cares to give me credit for.
Well, another Ryanism I've picked up is, I don't like that. I don't like that. Oh, that's not good. It's weird.
Thank you.
As to us, of course, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, all the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Okay, maybe just 3 at Autopod Decast. And of course, there's the web presence at autopoddecepticast.com. We'll have a proper episode next week.
Absolutely. And bringing you through the Transformers conference that will be happening in Chicago.
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks again, Mike. And thanks to everybody listening. Hope everybody had a good time at the movie and not a shitty
I hope
time.
everybody's great. Everybody, are you great? I hope you're great.
Well, you know what? And I'm totally trampling all over your thing. Sorry, I totally fucked that up. I was just going to say, as you're following us on the social medias, let us know what you thought of it. I'd love to know if our buddy Serge Bomba or Skeeter or David Cavill or any of those folks made it out to the movie and what their thoughts were as well, because I would imagine that they would be very similar to ours. So
excellent. Yep.
All right. Bye.
Oh, man. Make good choices.
We're going to hang up on you.
Brussels, where we sell good.